All right, welcome to the stream. Alex here with ASM 101. What do you guys think of that intro? Dude, I'm super stoked about that. I was like jamming to it. Yeah, so guys, everyone, welcome to the stream. Today we got a cool show for you. I asked a local contractor buddy of mine to come on and share his experience in the industry, just some of his trials and tribulations that he's gone through. But before we do that, I just want to go over a few updates on the channel, the YouTube channel, that is the Facebook groups, and all of the engagement and all the posts and all that stuff. It's just it's at an all-time high, and I love watching everybody posting there. It's really great. The But an update for the actual YouTube channel itself, we reached monetization. So at any point during this stream, it is possible, there is a super chat feature. It's kind of like a tip in the hat, a tip jar, so to speak. And if you're really in support of this channel, I really would appreciate it if you drop something in there. It helps. Every little bit helps. So, uh, getting past all that, that's just some of the stuff I wanted to cover real quick before we get into it. But for now, what I want to do is introduce our guest for today. His name is TJ Skull. He is the owner and operator of Advanced Roof Solutions here in Barrie, Ontario. And yeah, he's a really solid guy. Him and I, we've done a lot of business interactions in the past, and I can't wait for you to meet him. So let's get TJ on here. TJ, what's up, brother?
Hey, Alex.
What's happening?
Not much. Congratulations on monetization of YouTube. That's a big milestone.
Yeah, man. Probably like $1 a day. It's pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
you've been grinding for a long time to get to that $1 a day. So
No, I know. I know. I know. It's pretty cool, but honestly, I mean, it doesn't pay the bills. So really,
no.
it's still nice, but really, I
Yeah.
gotta, what we're here for is, just to really get the message out. Architectural sheet metal is a viable trade, and it shouldn't go anywhere, man. But yeah, anyways, so without further ado, just maybe let people know who you are, and um, what you're all about, what your company's all about. So yeah, it's all yours, man.
All right. Well, I'm an old shingler. This year I'll be rounding the 20-year mark inside the industry as an installer. Started out in kind of union shingles, did that for a really long time. And kind of got to the point in my career where the rectangles on rectangles just kind of got boring. I felt like I'd seen most of it, and I was kind of looking for something new. The very first standing seam thing I did was I was doing a favor for a buddy. He got a raw deal. He built a house. The roof on it sucked. 11 months later, he was replacing the roof on a brand new house, and we were replacing it with almost an identical shingle. And after what he was paying for the roof, I kind of felt bad that it wasn't going to look anything different. So I said, "Why don't you let me try some experimenting here?" And we threw on an accent dormer over the front doorway with standing seam and an eyebrow, and it looked awesome. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I thought at the time I invented Z trim because we just put strips along the top and then pushed a piece of cap all the way across it. And me and one of my guys, Josh, were like, there has got to be a better way than this. And then we kind of went after a pretty big project. We had some support from some of the people that I knew, and we did pretty well on the project. And then the next project is where you and I met. And I think we met online first.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about you running me some material. We did that.
I was actually thinking about that the other day. I remember having that conversation with you online.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And and you came through when we were in a really tight spot at that point. You recognized that we obviously had some talent that could use a little refining. Then we wanted to get into some business together. I was going to sub a couple roofs, and you said not in the current state of your crew. And so you came over to my shop, and you brought your demo board, and you went through a whole training program with my in-house guys. Man. And then we kind of we went from there.
Yeah, because when you're talking about that, when you're saying stacking rectangles upon rectangles, I know if I gonna continue doing this for any period of time, I got to be able to have a sense of pride and satisfaction of what it is that I'm doing. You know.
Well, so. And that was the thing. The first night I was on a rather large standing seam project, and I was kind of just trying to figure things out on my own at that point. So I had a light setup. It was, I want to say December something, minus whatever degrees. I'm in this house, no electricity, table set up, panel on it. I'm like, okay, I need a bread pan of some sort at that end. I need that end to somehow go under the drip edge, and I've got to make these seams decorative at the bottom. Here's a square. Here's a tape measure. Here's a pencil. Here's red snips, green snips. Alex had already told me that yellow snips don't belong on a on a job site. And a Wuco, my first Wuco, and the Pelican snips and 24 gauge, and everything was on fire. Everything was hard, but I just looked down at the table and saw these tools spread out, thinking like, this is the first time I've been a craftsman in the roofing trade. And I was hooked. From that moment on, I was absolutely hooked. I remember that night so vividly, just sitting there staring at that table under the light, because it's at night, everyone else has gone home, I'm on the construction site by myself, and I remember thinking like, this is where we've got to go. And we went there.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I think maybe do you have something that I could bring up on to the screen to kind of showcase some of your guys' work?
How would I do that?
I can do that. You just got to tell me what to bring up. Is it your Instagram? Would that be the best?
There's probably a bit on Instagram.
Okay.
We don't do a good job of but if you pull up my Instagram, we can
you know what, I kind of putting you on the spot. Maybe
we don't do a good enough job of kind of photographing and posting this stuff yet. I wear a lot of hats in my business.
No, I hear you. I do know your TikTok is unreal. It's unbelievable, dude. Like 6 million. Dude, you've gone viral how many times on TikTok, man?
We've been viral a couple times. We got a couple over 100,000. We got one at over 6 million. Yeah,
and the video is hilarious too, man. Dempsey's in. Dempsey just popped in. By the way, he is in the comments. I can throw him up on the screen here. There he is, the man, the legend. There he is. I'm sure Curtis is watching too on here somewhere.
Yeah,
but he doesn't like talking online too much. But yeah, man. Yeah, right on. Okay, so I guess what I really wanted we'll just go over a few things. Like you already touched on a few things but like in terms of, because you're a business owner, you and I are business owners, and I understand a lot of what are some of the issues that I've come into as a business owner in terms of getting the labor that's needed, like the skilled labor that's needed. Have you experienced any of those troubles? Finding guys with skill, or even finding guys who are willing to learn. Like, what's been your experience on that?
So finding guys with skill, I've not really had a lot of luck with. Everyone that works with me currently started out as a shingler, and basically we isolated the crew that we have. We isolated them as the steel crew because we introduced them to the concepts, and these are the guys that liked it and really wanted to. They're the ones that actually cared about their work. And since then, we only do steel in house now. We've subbed out our roofing or our shingling. We've subbed out our flat roofing. And all we do in house is our steel. And like I said, we had 13 guys at one point. That's probably really close to the number that you came and met when you trained them. And we knew, like, basically instantly who was going to be in love with the steel. Actually, Curtis, who works for you, was in that training, and
Oh, I
he was one
remember,
of the
yeah.
guys that, like, instantly he just loved it.
Yeah.
And and that's another guy that had been shingling his whole life, and just as soon as he saw this, he was just like, wow.
Well, and then I do remember that training, and I do remember, some guys just kind of stay around the fringe, but then there's guys who really just want to get in there and get hands on, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. It's it really, when you see that happen, you're like, it's really interesting. Like, this stuff can be really cool, and like make you get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps me at the shop most nights. We've had several versions of our training board. I've got jigs right now made up in the shop for our. We're building our pipe flashings now out of steel. All stuff that I learned on your channel. We make our pipe on the break the exact same way you taught on your channel. I make a jig to the pitch of the roof. I bend up a panel. I place that on the jig, so I've got the pitch right, and solder it and paint it, and that's what we're doing with our pipe flashings now. And that just kind of, I just decided one night that I wasn't leaving the shop until I'd figured that out. And as soon as you started putting out videos, I was doing wall abutments. I just had a bench at that point, like literally a flat bench. I put a piece of plywood on the flat bench and screwed one to the wall, and I was just practicing 90-degree wall abutments right at the back of my shop.
Yeah, man.
Different eave details. We've got one made up right now. It's just a 212 with a 18 by 18 inch box that is perpendicular to the ground. So it's got the pitch angle on it, so that we can practice doing chimney flashings and our double closures with the pocket folds. Yeah, we built that one last week because it was too cold to work outside.
Well, and that's another thing too, when you're talking about training. Like, I know a lot of guys want to they want to get better, but they don't want to take the time to get better because they think, oh man, it takes forever to do, right? It'll just add way too much time to what we already take a lot of time to do. And I see it a lot in the Facebook groups, and I see it, and it's just this focus on all this time that it's going to take. And I don't know what to, I'm going to put that question to you. What kind of, how would you say it? Because you are of the business mindset, what kind of time, like in terms of time, right? I know it takes longer, but just expand on what your perception of time savings versus taking longer and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
So because we are a business, we have to balance production with not with pride, because we take pride in everything that we do, but balance production with things that we do that are considerably over and above the kind of the industry standard right now. Because I mean, if you take a look at the general industry standard, it's J trim everything. It's just chop it off at the eaves. A WUCO'd gable detail, maybe. A lot of guys are still using a box trim over top of just a raw edge. So the way we looked at it was, let's introduce something. Let's do one thing over and above industry standard, and we're here. And then we work that into our system so that it's just normal. We can do it as fast as we could do anything else. We figure out how to make that detail happen quickly. We do a lot of stuff on the ground before the panel is even passed up. And we figure out how to make that detail work the same every single time. And then on the next one, once that's just our baseline, we bumped up another notch. And now we're, this much above the industry standard. And we just keep doing that. And the way we sold it was, we sold our first one as industry standard, but we did one thing better. Okay. And then we took those pictures and we sold the next roof as, we do this much better than industry standard, which is why we're worth more than the industry standard. And on that one, they got a free upgrade. And now we have evidence of that. We're good at that. And we take that one and we sell it to the next one as an upgrade, and we add a different upgrade. So we have managed to kind of work that into our price structure to get more money than what someone would get just for the industry standard. And we basically, every time we do one detail, they get that for free, and then we sell that on the next one and they get a different one for free.
Well, and that's what I know about you very well, because we know each other very well. Yep. Is that you're very attentive to time versus, I mean, it is money. Time is money. That's where the cliche comes from. But I know how focused you are on that in your business, right? And I've taken a page out of your book in those terms, right? But I want to take what you said, go one step further in terms of time, and let you and some other people know just my thoughts on it. And when people post those kinds of comments, it's, to me, I also think on like kind of short game versus long game, so to speak, right? Where, okay, it's going to take me, how much time extra would you say a detail, like say the front of a chimney, right? I know you've done a few with the sweep versus a J channel, right? Like, how much time extra would you say that detail takes when you're doing a sweep versus J trim?
I mean, the first one for sure is significant. I mean, the first, it wasn't a chimney, it was a skylight that I did like that for the first time. Right. And I mean, I was 3 days on the roof doing that skylight flashing. Never mind when I was bending up in the shop, and all the swings I took when I was in the shop.
Right.
But I mean, I can do that detail now. I could flash that entire chimney in 4 or 5 hours, which, you can easily J trim the same skylight and pop some pre-made wall flashings on. But I mean, you also got to remember that the roofers don't think that those flashings and J trims had to be made, but they did. and someone paid for them. So we taking that out of the equation and forming them on site. That's a part of the equation that is often overlooked. So there's also there's no doubt that doing a lot of these flashing details take more time. But there's also there's value in things other than just money. And to me, looking at a detail like that and going home and being proud of what I did that day, that provides me with a significant amount of value.
Yeah, like when you stand back and say, damn, like that is also like, damn, it looks cool, but also, damn, like that really makes roofing sense, because like when you're, I know what you're saying, and Curtis has said it to me a million times. He goes, he says a lot. He says that a lot. It makes sense what it is we're doing. The J trim and some of those details, even details that manufacturers put out, you do them and you're like, how am I going to sleep tonight? Like what is gonna, and some of them are good, but they rely heavily on butyl and sealants and
butyl,
screws and
underlayment.
Underlayment.
I worked with this guy. This was back in my shingle days, but we did this roof, and it took a lot of extra attention, extra blue skin. We used some fully adhered blue skin in some spots, and when we were done, we both looked at it. We're like, man, you could turn that roof upside down, put it in the lake, and it would float away. So that's always been my like standard of what a really good roof is.
Yeah.
And let's face it, I mean, if you take those J trims and you put them on a roof and you flip that roof upside down and you put it in the lake, it's going to sink real quick.
That's true. I like that analogy, man. We're making boats. That's what you're saying. We're making boat hulls.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But so in terms of time, you want to consider time. Like if you were to take all of the, let's say, callbacks, for example, if you were to take, and callbacks never come at a good time, right? So, I'm going to get woke up in the middle of the night for a callback potentially, right? So if you think about just that in and of itself, being callback proof, like details, like you see in the Facebook group all over the place. Yes, they look absolutely mind-boggling. And like I also to introduce this kind of this level of craftsmanship, like you're saying, it's got to be introduced little by little. You can't just like throw it on everybody. So like, we try and use these details where they matter. Like if it's a 12-12 roof, do I need to do a sweep seam coming off the chimney? Probably not. You have enough watershed. But on a 212, I'm not using J, and I'm sure as hell not going to use Z closure, right? But yeah, like those are time savings too. Okay, so I'm just going to jump to the next one because this is what you and I talked before. This is what happens, when me and TJ get going. We can do a 3-hour Rogan style podcast.
Yeah, how many times we've been on the phone just driving for 3 hours?
Yeah, it gets into like aliens. Are they real? Anyway. Okay, so then just a couple. So in terms of let's jump to training, and then I want to touch on where you see the industry going after that. But so in terms of training and time, like, do you see what kind of benefit do you see education and training offering guys coming up, or guys who have been in the trade for a while? What kind of benefits do you see education and training offering?
So in order to kind of like if I could decide that I was going to train somebody to roof or someone to do sheet metal roofing, I would be looking for someone that's already got the basics of, of water down. I, I like pulling from shinglers because I think I'm a great example of someone that got pulled from that industry, and then was ready to really fall in love with their trade, which is what happened to me. And also the all the great guys that I work with and you work with, that's where they came from. So I think training, because we're not a licensed trade, such as like electricians and plumbers, where someone's willing to pay to go to school to learn that trade. We as company owners need to finance this training. So to pull guys that are already great on a roof, and teach them to actually, to have a passion for what they're doing. In your training program that worked with my guys that day, that's been the most valuable thing that we've been able to pull from. From there, there was a real spark. And some guys look for information on their own. Some guys look for information from me. And from that spark that you lit with that course, we've gone to, like, we didn't know how to put on a Z trim on the bottom of a hip. What you got there?
Right. The yeah.
And from there we've gone to do some pretty spectacular things, and not with ease, but in very productive ways. The guys sometimes are out there putting on 5 to 1,000 square feet a day through systems that they've learned to make things happen on schedule.
Well, and when you were talking about that course, or that, it was a day, like, to kind of clarify for everyone watching, I took a small little roof mock-up, like size of a coffee table, like size roof mock-up. It was, I think I made it to, it's like a 612 slope. It had a, what do you guys call it? A suicide valley in it.
The Suicide Valley,
Yeah.
it had a hip, and I think it had a regular valley as well.
Yeah, something like that. It was really, it was super simple, right?
Yep.
But and I was there for, oh geez, it went by quick, but I was there for like maybe 4 or 5 hours or something like that. It wasn't long, right? But you could just see the guys just getting amped up.
Yeah.
They were starting to get excited. They were asking questions. And it was just once. Like, I've been to your shop. I've been to your shop a lot of times, but I've been to your shop once to train.
Yeah.
And it was like, just to hear you say those things is pretty it's pretty amazing to me, actually, because I wasn't aware of how much it actually, it enhanced your crew, or how much it benefited you. So it speaks to anybody who's thinking of improving on their skills. I mean, any crew, any business owner who has crews, any crew lead, education and training, although on the onset may seem, what do you think they're thinking, TJ? Like,
well, interesting while you're talking about this, because I remember how excited my guys were when you were with them. I remember the spark that it lit. And since then, I study a lot, and I play a lot, and I train a lot. And now I come with my guys and I try to put on training with my guys, and it's not the same. Me and my guys have a very different relationship, and therefore it doesn't translate well to me spending a day in the shop with them. One, they know that I just learned it on YouTube last night. No secrets with my guys.
No, that's
You know,
but that's just the state of the industry, right? Like that's
yeah.
right.
Whereas like something, I think a great like training program would be, a roofing company hires Alex. Alex comes in, gives them a quick once over, scans the room. Everybody scans the room, figure out who like had that like spark go off, that light bulb go off, that like, whoa. And then those guys spend a little bit more time with Alex on a almost semi-regular basis, because there's you probably know this better than anybody else. You're never going to stop learning in this industry. Like you're where you are, almost 20 years in, and you still constantly learn and change and adapt and figure more things out. And I see you seeking out that knowledge. So, my guys have been at it 2 years. We introduce a little bit more, and from someone who's not me, who's, barking orders at them all the time.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true though.
Know?
Yeah, because I think the guys now, just this is my perception, but also, being in being in the trenches with the guys, like you got to be one of the guys, and then to try and be one of the guys and teach at the same time, it's tough. It's tough to be serious and and then okay, I gotta take my serious hat off and put on my my one of the guys hat on. Right, it's tough to switch back and forth. So like to have, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's like to have kind of like a third party style of training has more effectiveness than, say, a guy who's with them day in and day out. I totally get
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And because half the time me and like Dempsey are on site. I've got my phone up with one of your videos playing. Like which line did we bisect again? So and then the next day I'm like, all right, Dempsey, let me teach you how to do this thing.
Yeah. So okay, well we'll go to one more question, and then I got a doozy of a question you may or may not know about, but just to kind of land the plane, just kind of wrap things up. But one more kind of serious note thing. Where do you really see, positive or negative or both? Where do you see the future of this industry?
What
are your predictions?
I'm really optimistic. I'm optimistic because there's a lot of great builders out there. There's a lot of great architects out there. And we are fortunate enough now to be in the position where we're in contact with them on a fairly regular basis. And I do hear about builders that are looking for this type of thing. Don't get me wrong. The industry standard, we'll call it, will always exist, and it'll always probably be a larger market than the specialty market. But all specialty markets are just that. They're specialty and they're small. But there's a lot of people looking for what we're doing right now. We did one roof for a company, a builder, a couple weeks ago. They've sent us 3 sets of drawings since we did their one roof. As soon as I got the text message from the builder, I sent it right to Josh. They'd been working with another contractor that we know that they're fine. They do industry standard work. But they were kind of blown away with what we did. It was the first one that I did a steel soldered pipe flashing detail on. I also did the chimney flashing, like the cone chimney flashing detail that I'd soldered into a large piece of 26 gauge so that I could fold it into the seams.
Yep. Yeah, I remember sending me a picture.
Yeah, and he didn't even know that was possible. He thought we were just going to put a big cone on and caulk it down.
Yeah, that one of those big rubber
Yeah,
boot things. Yeah.
yeah, and he was concerned about that. He's like, I don't know how you're gonna do this. He's like, but I don't really like the idea of putting on a roof that should last forever and then caulking flashings to it. He's like, do you have any thoughts? And I was like, I do have a thought. What do you think of this? And he was blown away. And like I said, we just got off that roof a week ago, and he sent us 3 more sets of drawings. And they insist on the quality of workmanship being par with that. Even on actually, I was on one of his flat roofs today, and they were going to do their own parapet flashing. After they saw our parapet flashing, he showed up. He's like, oh, by the way, we're going to need to price this parapet flashing because my guys saw what your guys did, and my guys can't do that.
Okay. Well, yeah, because like I think to kind of speak to what you're saying about the future of the industry is if, let's just say, education takes a back seat for all of eternity, you're going to keep seeing what you've been seeing, right?
Yeah.
And like you know as well as I do, there's a lot of hack jobs out there, right?
There's a lot of hack jobs. And so I got off on a tangent there, but there is, like I say, the specialty end will be the specialty end, but there is for sure room for growth in that area. I just don't think that the builders right now even know some of what you do, and some of the members in this group that are doing great work. I don't think the builders know that stuff exists. And as we educate them, a lot of the builders are saying absolutely, and then when you look at the prices in our area in particular of the projects that these are going on, these projects are worth so much money that, the money's there. They can afford this quality of a product. The money hasn't always been there, and I see that as positive towards our growth.
So when I know there's some builders out there that maybe there's some builders going to see this, right? But I know there's builders out there, not all of them, because I've had some really solid builders, but there's guys who go in for the, they get a bunch of quotes and they go with the cheapest one. And
those guys for sure exist.
Yeah. But there's a lot of guys who want to be the cheapest. So, it's kind of like a race to the bottom, right? And unfortunately, I see a lot of guys doing that to try and, call themselves competitive. When I hear the word competitive, I hear, well, we just want to be the cheapest. But TJ, have you ever gotten a job based solely on merit and, marketing of good works, craftsmanship?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like education, knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. We all the time. Most of our work, most of the time when people hear my price, if they've never worked with me or don't have a reference, they think I'm out to lunch and I never hear from them again. But if they've worked with me previously, have spoken to people that I've worked with previously, we are 9 times out of 10, I'm the most expensive guy in the room.
Right. You still did the job.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's not a great margin, to be honest. There's probably some hack jobs out there being the cheapest that are making more money than I am.
Well, they're cutting more corners. They get out of there a week earlier than you. But that's what I'm saying. Like these hack jobs, and I use that word all the time. I'm just gonna use that word. It's the hack jobs that kind of dwindle this trade down to its bare bones. Because let's say there is a problem, good luck getting them there because they're so busy because they got all the jobs because they're the cheapest. Like, good luck getting them there to fix it, right?
Yeah, those guys don't last long. And I don't know. We have this conversation exists in every market, and the way I like to see it is, Louis Vuitton doesn't give a shit how much Walmart charges.
That's right. Right. It's apples and oranges, right?
And you know, if I get to a point, if I'm in a room and someone's being like, I don't know, can you come down in price a little bit? We'd love to work with you, but you got to drop your price. I'm in the wrong room. Like, I just,
yeah, dude. I like that mindset. I love that mindset. Okay. Again, we can go on for hours, but
yeah.
So
Tough
the question that everyone's been waiting for, ice first or second?
So I'm gonna qualify, take the cop out, which is the correct answer is under and over your eave starter. You put a strip of ice and water shield down, you put your eave starter down, and then you start your roof from the eave starter up. But almost nobody does that, us included. And I'm going to take the controversial approach and say that the drip edge goes on after the ice and water shield.
Ooh, buddy.
I am a
what kind of flack you're going to get for that?
I'm a firm believer that steel should never touch wood. All steel condensates.
100% agreed.
And so I want protection on before any of that steel touches the roof.
Yo, I just like, you don't know how many people are just like they fell off their chair or fell off the roof just listening to you say that. No, but
you know how many rotted out eaves I've replaced?
Yeah, no, I know, because it's and it is that like that 4 to 6 inches up that's completely just rot, you know, and it dips right before the fascia board, that little dip.
Yeah.
You know, it's because you got rotten substrate. And it's from that metal.
That's right.
You get that, you know, like you said, condensation wherever air is, which is everywhere.
Yeah.
There will be moisture and there will be trapped. It will be trapped there.
Yeah.
You know, slowly over time it'll but no, I for everyone watching, like if you haven't been in the Facebook group or in any roofing group, honestly, you ask that question in any of those groups, like you're just gonna get slammed, dude.
I know, it's fun to do it live. I could hear people's ears exploding.
Yeah, the keyboard's just clicking, right? Like, yeah. Right on. Geez, you know what? I mean, we're at 45 minutes now. You know what, dude? I think I'm just gonna end this, and I really appreciate you coming on. We're gonna do it again for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, thanks for being on today's live.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great, man. Thanks.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, man.
All right,
see you later. Thanks. Yeah, so as you might have noticed, TJ and I do go back a little bit. We have a bit of a working contractor relationship. So, but yeah, I appreciate his opinion. Hopefully, you guys appreciated his opinion as well. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and yeah, I'd have him on any roof that I'm working on. One thing before we all disperse here, if you don't mind subscribing, sharing all these lives, any videos you see, as soon as you share it to somebody else, YouTube sees that and they just keep putting it out to more and more people. So anyways, I really appreciate everyone's support here, and we will see you in the next video.